Just recently, I bought the Fang Fu. I guess that's how you pronounce that. This is the Top Pick 2025 gift. I had no clue it was. 17-in-1 on Amazon, and it meets all your needs. Or does it? Well, let's go ahead and open the package. Now, right out of the gate, this is not extremely promising. This is a very generic tool. And then this is the tool itself. And maybe you can see that definitely looks a little different than some of the, it seems like thousands of wave clones and other tools that just copy each other out there. Right out of the package, we have a corkscrew and we have some locking implements. So I was intrigued and I thought this might be something that I would be interested in. Plus, all the tools are on the outside. Locking implements, all outside tools. Nice. Now, these are spring-loaded pliers. There's no little junky spring here in the middle. These seem to be fairly nice pliers right here at first glance. And then you have these crimpers. Now, when you zoom closer to these pliers, it looks like the machining is a little bit rough. So that might give you a little bit of what's to come. And then we have these almost like desert sand scales right here that look a little different. So let's go ahead and jump to the outside. How good is this? Is this the best gift to give in 2025 or 2026? This right here is on sale right now for $15 with a coupon. Locking tools, $15. Now, there we go. So this is our first big issue. Maybe the biggest issue of the whole tool is that it doesn't lock up very securely. But it uses the same locking system as Gerber, like the NXT suspension. And I think this is a cheap generic take on the NXT suspension. But look at this. So unfortunately, we have these huge spacers, gigantic spacers, that take up a lot of the tool handle and only leave us with 4 tools on this side. And then on this side, they actually have smaller spacers. And then we do have 4 tools on this side. So only 8 tools total, but obviously several tools have different tasks, so they can say there's 17. Now we have the awl on this side. Doesn't look too awful right there. And then the bottle opener and the flat screwdriver, but this right here is definitely going to be a weak point, so not a huge fan of that. And then the file, and not really a big fan of the file when they add the ruler on the other side, but that's what we have right there. And then let's see. Yep, there's some wobble. Yeah, not so great. Then we do have this corkscrew that locks. Usually I don't think the corkscrews lock, but it does on this one. And then we have a gigantic Phillips screwdriver. Wow. That is very large. And I have to say this one is probably the least shaky of all of them. So unfortunately it's less shaky than the knife, which isn't probably a good thing. And then there is just the flat screwdriver. No wire stripper, just a flat screwdriver right there. And then the last tool is the saw. So no scissors. I don't know that I saw even a wire stripper. And this one, wow, that really has a lot of wobble to it right there. I hope you can see how much, but yeah, it just does not lock up very well. Unfortunately, yeah, however they designed this, it's just not working, unfortunately. But that is the tool set. That is very disappointing. I was hoping this would be a great budget option to recommend to people. All outside tools, locking. Probably the best thing about it is the spring-load pliers. But then again, when you start looking at it, those look a little rough, don't they? Looks like they didn't take too much time to smooth those out. But actually, they don't sound gritty like some I've seen. So they actually sound smooth, but they sure don't look it. This is the Fang Fu. I guess it is. Fang Fu, supposedly the best gift in 2025. But I hope you guys aren't giving this to too many people because it's probably not the best gift, unfortunately. So for $15, way overpriced. unfortunately, it is not worth it. A big fail. All right, so before we go on, I thought this might be useful to someone out there. I was thinking that the Byberry copy of the NXT suspension was a lot better, but look at this. There is still a fair amount of wobble even in the knife blade. When we open up the scissors, there's not as much wobble. This definitely feels a lot better made. It's hard to maybe show that in the video, but if you hold this in your hand, you can definitely see that it's better. But there is definitely still some wobble going on. Now, I want to bring in the original NXT suspension and show you right here. It's pretty much, it's a lot better. So even though the NXT suspension is pretty cheap, and I think it's pretty cheaply made, it actually locks up a lot tighter. And again, I don't think that shows as much on video. It probably looks like it's still wobbling a lot, but it definitely is a huge upgrade. It feels so much more solid. Now, I think the problem is, I don't know if you can see this or not, but so Gerber has these notches right here. So this tool right here, look at this one, and it's pretty much flat. So it's got this system, but I think the system would fit a lot better in the notches than how it is right here. Then let's go ahead and look at the Gerber MP400, and this is rock solid. So this is really good, this system right here. So unfortunately, yeah, these copies of Gerber, this one is really bad. The Byberry is not quite as bad, but it still has a fair amount of play in it. I don't know that I realized that before. And then the NXT has a little bit of play, but not near as much as these two right here. So even the NXT suspension, I pretty much thought the Byberry was almost as good. But when you think about the lockup of the tools, the NXT suspension might be worth some of that extra money. I still think it's overpriced, but the tools do actually work better. Some of you guys have asked in the past, what do I carry for work? And there's been some mixed reviews of my toolkit. I do a mix between, I work at a hospital, so I do a mix between commercial and almost like residential HVAC. So it technically is commercial, but a lot of the things that we work on would remind you more of residential systems, but there are like exhaust fans and then there's huge boilers. So it's just a bit of a mix. Now, for the things that I do each day for taking off electrical covers, checking out exhaust fans, working on some smaller inside compressors for refrigerant units, this kit actually comes in handy a lot more than you would think. So I've got some like files and I think saw blades right in here from like the Byberry toolkit. I've got this titanium toothpick. I've got my little adjustable wrench. And then this is what I want to talk about. This is the Klein nut driver set, which is fantastic. I've got these small Steinwell bits, and then I keep this tape measure. I've got this Band-Aid, and then I've got my Work Pro multi-tool that I sort of designed for this right there. And then I really like this ratchet, 711L ratchet with, this is just a standard 1/4 inch bit extender. That's all that is. And then it fits in there and it gives me like a handle for this small 711L ratchet. And then I've got a pair of Klein wire strippers that I actually cut the handles off to make them smaller. And then they fit right inside this pouch like so. And then I do have a Band-Aid that I sort of squashed in there. And then I found this pouch. I think this is like a Molly, a military sunglass pouch for like sunglasses. All the other ones were way too bulky, and so this one right here actually fits on my belt, and I really like it. But what I wanted to talk about was the Dakoyu's Reborn and this Klein nut driver. Now with this kit, I have found this extremely useful. I have mentioned this before, but I think it bears mentioning again. This is from Kristen Van Patten, and this is really cool because it holds 3 bits, and then you can put your bit extender for your Leatherman right in here. And then it has this pocket clip. And then in the past, I have found 1/4-inch pens. And this one right here is discontinued, but there is a model available on Etsy right now. But what I will do is I can use it as a pen. And then also I really like this bit extender. And then for the Reborn, I just add this. There we go. Right there. And I hold it like this. And then I can use this nut driver, whatever size I need. And this one comes in a 1/2, 9/16, and then 7/16, and the other size is a 1/2 inch, and then 3/8 and 5/16. So this has a lot of the sizes that are common in the HVAC systems that I work on. So I really like this system, and then I can use it like this. Today I opened it up like this when it was a little bit hard to reach area, and yeah, it works really, really good. And then when you're just doing like a 1/4-inch metal screws, you can just use this right here as a nut driver. Comes in very, very handy. So before, when I was talking about the Reborn, I did say, oh, it's a little hard to have it extended like this. But I find that when you're using a setup like this, then it's easier to sort of close it, and it's a lot more comfortable to use it from this way. So very happy with it, and it came in very handy the past couple days. So I have really been enjoying using the Dakoyu Reborn.